There it is, Portland, Oregon. Adrian, I'm going to let you in on a secret. So every day, for people watching, this is something we've kept a secret. Our producer, Jake, is actually out there right now in this live shot, hiding somewhere within the frame. And if you spot him in every episode, there's actually a special prize that we have set aside that you can...
How many episodes do you have to get to?
I think it's like 60-some, 70-some episodes.
Okay.
I mean, you'd have to get all of them, but if you freeze frame each one of them, a very special
find Jake.
prize.
Is he wearing like a Where's Waldo outfit so you can identify him a little bit easier?
Once you find him, you'll know. Yeah. You'll know what it is. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, broadcasting live from Portland, Oregon, every day, 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. And we're going to be going to our New York studio here later on today. I'll explain why that is here in just a second. But since we are live, I want to remind everybody you can drop in your comments, your questions, everything you want to bring up, you can do right here with us. I'm seeing on YouTube right now, we've got Gerbit, who said, hi from Malaysia, and I should be in bed. I'm glad you're not. I don't know what time it is there, but I think it's time for you to stay up for another hour at least. Shelbo talking about foldable phones, which we're going to be bringing up here in just a little bit. Dinesh talking about the Xiaomi phone. This is all just on YouTube. And Javier and Mariella. Hello, Mariella. So we've got lots of different comments coming through, but since we are live, we can take those questions as we go through the show, and we will answer them. So let's talk about what's on the docket today. So coming up in a little bit, we're going to, like I said, head to our New York studio with our senior editor, Les Shu, who's going to be joined by Calvin Iverson, who's a travel expert with Travel Pirates. Kind of give us some travel tips, when you should maybe buy those tickets for spring and summer, all kinds of different things that they have going on. They are the experts, so again, let us know what those questions are.
That's very exciting.
I know, it is, right? I know, I kind of want to know, like, when are you supposed to get, like, the good deals for summer? Because I love me a deal, but I'm usually not very good at figuring them out. So this is why we need them on there. So we'll be talking to them. Luke Larson, one of our computing editors, is also going to be stopping here in studio to talk about gaming laptops in 2019, what the exciting ones are that are coming out. We've seen a lot of evolution in the gaming laptop kind of era, but especially at CES 2019. But we're going to find out more about that when Luke Larson comes in here. He is our expert to talk about that. But I'm Greg Nibbler here in studio with Adrian Warner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Wednesday, right?
Sure, we'll say that. Yeah, Wednesday. It's the internet. You can kind of just make it up, and
Excellent.
assuming, you know, everybody will just kind of go along with it if you say that. So.
Well, that sounds like a really exciting list of topics. I'm excited to dive into the foldable phones, and I'm excited to learn more about travel tech tips and all kinds of stuff.
Lots of stuff going on right here at Digital Trends Live. Well, yeah, let's talk about this foldable phone thing. So, you know, as you know, we've all known this, that there's been a lot of announcements about foldable phones. We got to see the Royal FlexPi foldable phone at CES 2019. We have a hands-on video of that you can look at. We know Samsung has one that's going to be coming out sometime, supposedly, in the first half of 2019. I feel like that keeps getting pushed around. We don't even have a name on it. But a company that we haven't heard from necessarily on the foldable phone side yet is Xiaomi. Xiaomi's usually at the forefront of a lot of this technology when it comes to phones, and now we've got a video of not just a foldable phone, but a double foldable phone.
Oh, yeah.
Double foldable phone. And it's a video actually from their president and co-founder, Bin Lin, who shared a video showcasing this double foldable phone. And I want to know what people think of this. Like, if you were interested in a foldable phone before, does this change your mind? Adrian, what are your thoughts on this?
It's very cool to see that it's actually a single screen as opposed to a double screen, which has kind of been the model that we've seen with foldable phones up until this point. Not that there have been that many, but that's kind of a cool feature. I'm not quite sure what the functionality of the two flaps on the back is once you actually fold it, other than just becoming a normal smartphone size. It's very cool technology, though. I would like to see more of it, and it seems like it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. Yeah, and just this idea of folding it twice like that, which is, you know, definitely something that we haven't seen before.
What happens if you only fold it once and then leave the rest out?
That's a good question.
I guess you could, like, put it up on, you know, on your desk or something.
Oh yeah, maybe use it just to to fold it back. I mean, that's true. I mean, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people have with this is with foldable phones. It's like, okay, neat, but what do I really do with it? And plus, if it's double-sided like that, then I feel like I'm going to scratch it and break it. But that's a whole different issue. What is interesting, though, is how the software is going to work for it. And I think in that little video, you can kind of see the software goes around a little bit of the corners, but there's a lot that has to be developed for that. Not only for just the foldable phones we've seen for the FlexPi and presumably what Samsung's is going to be, but if you're going to double foldable, then yeah, this is a whole different issue of how that software works.
And how it doesn't manipulate the image or stretch it or, yeah.
And,
exactly.
and like you said, what do you do with the other two screens? I mean, you have them, what do you do with those? Now, one thing, though, that I think is interesting with how Xiaomi is doing this, because Samsung, we know, is being real secretive about theirs. They kind of, I feel like, have their hand forced with the Royal FlexPi. But Xiaomi is just saying, like, hey, here's something we came up with. What do you think of this?
Yeah, it sounds like they're asking for feedback before they go to mass production. So it's just currently a prototype that they're using. But they are showing people, you know, what it can do and demoing it, basically, online.
Yeah, saying, hey, look what we can do. I mean, let me know, for everybody watching live right now, is this something you're interested in? Does this pique your interest, or is this just is it just noise? Like, you're like, okay, yeah, neat, but I don't really see a use for it. Like, I want to know what you think, so let us know. But I do like that approach of just saying, hey, everybody, what do you think of this? And what would you want to name it on top of that? Because they also said that he didn't have a name for it. He's like, if it came out, what would you name it? Which is cool. I like that idea. That's a very interactive approach for a company.
I also really liked their tagline that they already put out is double the folding, double the fun.
Okay, that's pretty good. I feel like Double Mint might be in trouble for that.
Yeah.
but still, it's a pretty cool that they're going ahead and doing this, and yeah, letting it out there. You know, letting people decide what they want to. Or getting opinions anyway from the public on what they want to name it. So let us know what you think here in the comments in the chat as we go through the show, and we will get to those as well. All right, we've got more news and tech news. Okay, there we go. Sadant just said that the name should be Mi D1. Mi D1. Because Xiaomi, that's the me part of it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, D1. I just saw somebody coming up with a name, so we appreciate that name and want to get that comment up there because we do read the comments here at Digital Trends, and that's why it's time for our everyday segment of Read 'em and Weep, where we read some of the comments that have come through across our social media platforms, and some of them.
Weep. And this is just tears. This is a mug of
It's
tears.
a mug of tears. Adrian's mug of tears here to get us through the show. Sean Bauer. We're going to be talking about this in a minute regarding the animal dog robot can get back on its feet when someone pushes it over. And we will be discussing this. There's a whole article at Digital Trends about this. It's a robot dog, which is always terrifying. Or some people like them, I guess, think they're cute or whatever. Not me. That the way they're developing it is to help it out. So in certain industrial uses, it wouldn't fall over as easy. And there's video of this guy kicking it, and we should be getting to that here in our tech headlines. Next thing you know, we're going to have laws on robot abuse. Sean, I know people are probably going to try to figure that out, but I'm telling you, if you've ever watched the Boston Dynamics video with the hockey stick,
you'll feel a little differently.
Oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny though. I love it.
He brings up a really good point though, and I mean, this may be intended as a joke about laws about robot abuse, but like with how many automated cute robots there are coming out, delivery robots, personal robots, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like, does it cross the line if we start to abuse our automated helpers?
I don't know. I mean, I yell at Alexa sometimes. Does that make me a robot abuser? Okay. No. I just heard a yes in the background from the production booth. So
I refer to my Google speaker sometimes as the devil's speaker.
See? So the robots aren't going to be on your side either.
No, they're not.
All right. Well, we're all doomed in the robot apocalypse, but especially from the robot dogs we can't knock over. All right. Let's take a look here. Going through our comments, Neil Boll says, regarding Digital Trends, never shovel your driveway with this heat mat that's in the asphalt.
Ah, yes.
That is...
I did see that the other day. It was like they lay it down and then they essentially put the asphalt over it, let it dry.
Yeah.
And then the heat coils prevent iciness on your driveway. So if you have like a steep driveway or something that's really hard to shovel, or if you just have a really long fancy driveway.
Yes, a fancy driveway that I have. I mean, I think that's a great idea. I mean, where we physically are, we probably don't have to worry about that as much. But I think that's a good use of technology if you're somewhere where you have to deal with a lot of snow and ice.
Like in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm seeing a comment here regarding a comment that I put through on air earlier. Okay, perhaps I didn't understand what the me was referring to. All right, moving on. This is what happens when you do this show live. Sometimes I do read the comments and they come through. Whoops. All right, let's go on to our next comment here. So we're taking a look. Steve Hodgkiss regarding
this autonomous car is a traveling hotel and office, also known as a motorhome. It's been around for decades.
For decades. Okay, so...
That's fair. I would say that the motorhome has never been autonomous before. So
no, it has not.
I would ride around in an autonomous Airstream.
Somebody's
cool.
somebody's got to somebody's got to be in charge of that thing. But yeah, I would definitely ride around that. I think this is partially referring to the. We've got another article that went up too about an autonomous car and hotel, where it's completely glass. That was the one part that I don't like.
Was it the Bosch one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, where it's completely clear. Well, I'm not sure if it was the Bosch one or not, but there's a bunch of them that are out there. But yeah, I like the idea. I think I might get a little bit nervous. If I'm
sure, if it's all glass.
Yeah. I don't think that's where I would necessarily want to go on that one. All right, Steve, thank you for your comment. We have lots of comments coming through for our Read 'em and Weep segment every day where we do this live. And we take your comments live. Doug Armstrong, regarding the best TVs of CES 2019. Video is about 8K TVs uploaded in 11-year-old 720p. I see what you're talking about.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's not a ton of 8K content out there.
Especially not on YouTube quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some 4K content, especially on Netflix, that you can find. And on YouTube, I believe there's some things you can find in 8K. We'd have to ask Caleb Dennison about that, which we have lots of articles, Digital Trends about that, about different content that you can find. But yeah, it's going to be a while before you fully have that. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not going to get an 8K television for a while. They are cool. But I think 4K is probably going to be just fine for quite a bit.
Curious to see how much a camcorder that records an 8K would cost.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
The fact that I'm referring to it as a camcorder
I was just going to say, the fact you just said camcorder.
Yeah, excuse me.
With your Walkman.
Yeah.
Doug, thank you for that comment. Okay, we've got, I believe, one more comment here. They go through. Scott Billings regarding Samsung's blistering 219-inch micro LED will cook your eyeballs, blow your mind. So can a TV function as a load-bearing wall? Asking for a friend. Yeah, it is pretty. The 219-inch one is pretty impressive. I mean, the great thing about that too is that you can mold it, and you can basically, it's in different panels, so you can change it up.
Click them together. And
yeah.
It's kind of like that, there's like a cool light fixture called like the Leaf, I think, and it's basically like that where you just plug it in and except with a television.
With the television. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I would definitely be into this if Samsung wants to send one. Maybe we can wall the back of this.
Oh, that's a great idea, just DT Live. Maybe we can get it on all three sides.
I think that's a great idea. So let's see if we can work that out. All right, thank you for those comments, Scott Billings. So again, Read 'em and Weep, we do this every day. So leave your comments there, and we will get to them. All right, we've got some news that we need to get to here as well, though. Some continuing tech headlines. So we kind of take a look every day at what's trending, what people are talking about the most, and that's what we bring you, and just to try to keep you up to date on everything. And one of these is the Apple AirPods 2. Now, this is a constant rumor from Apple about when are the new AirPods going to come out, what are they going to have? Well, the latest rumor is that they're going to come out sometime in the first 6 months of 2019. Real vague there, but at least we're narrowing it down a little bit.
By June.
Yeah, by June, technically, maybe, according to this rumor. But one thing, though, that is being largely talked about is the fact that they are going to start incorporating health monitoring features into the AirPods, which I think, personally, I think that's great. Like I'm excited about, like with the Apple Watch right now, they're talking to different various people as far as incorporating this for the elderly, you know, different things with the Apple Watch as far as helping out different things there. I think incorporating health monitoring services into the tech, well, for some people, this may be as an invasion of privacy. I'm sorry, if it can tell me if I'm having some kind of an actual medical issue, I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with tech actually handling some of that and alerting someone to an issue. What do you think about this?
I think it's really interesting combined with the Apple Watch. I think it's a great idea, especially because you know, the idea of having your headphones in when you're in places where you might be approached or some, you know, like walking around at night, you can't hear things. I think that that's kind of a very interesting aspect. I'm wondering if it could tell like elevated heart rate, simple things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the one curious thing that I'm still wondering about that they haven't really been able to identify is how on earth they're going to put any sort of health monitoring in those tiny little headphones.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Besides like an accelerometer being able to tell if somebody falls over, I'm kind of curious to see what the limitations would be. Yeah.
What is actually going to be in there? Is it like a thermometer? That's a good point. You know, I guess you could probably monitor your heart rate pretty easily. But yeah, what else goes into it? And that's what I think a lot of people are waiting to find out about.
So like, clear out your earwax, kid.
Yeah. Listen up. So, I mean, I think there's a lot that if it all works out as we would want it, I think it'd be great. I mean, I'd love instant translation services in there. You know,
absolutely.
We basically have a Babelfish in your ear. Like, that would be cool. And I know there's different companies working on things along those lines. I think we even showed some at CES this year. But yeah, I mean, the AirPod 2 could be pretty amazing. I'm not a big fan of the dongle hanging down.
Oh, me neither.
Or not the dongle, but
I mean, they just look like golf tees.
They do look like golf tees.
But I understand the hype, and if more functionality could be added to them, I think that would make them more appealing in general.
Well, that's the rumor right now, is the Apple AirPod 2 possibly coming out in the first half of 2019, and maybe having health monitoring services built into it. All right, continuing on with the news, a couple other things that are trending right now. Netflix back in the news again. Now, we already know that they got nominated for a bunch of awards.
Yeah, I think 15 in the Oscar categories, I believe is the count. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 awards, which is crazy. I mean, it's really great for them. And Roma being nominated for Best Picture, which is huge for a streaming service, and especially for somebody like Netflix to be acknowledged in that. Well, the acknowledgement keeps on coming, and especially it's interesting since there's been it seems like so much fighting and backlash against Netflix from the movie industry, from Hollywood, if you will, just because they're not playing by the normal rules. But now it looks like they're finally ready to start embracing them, because Netflix has officially become the first streaming service, the first tech company to join the Motion Picture Association of America, which is actually huge.
It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically all of them saying like, all right, we give up. You are
legitimate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was my first thought. And it sounds like it could be a really great partnership for Netflix. It could expand its foothold in the Chinese market. It could also help combat privacy issues. Piracy, excuse me. And this could also be the gateway for other tech companies that produce content like Amazon to join on its heels. Yep,
Amazon, maybe some of I guess Hulu. I don't know how Hulu would work because it's a streaming service, but it's owned by all those other companies. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely, it can change the game. I mean, it just says that, you know, what's next are like YouTube movies or YouTube production companies. You know, there's a lot. This opens up just so much, and I think it's about time.
It seems very overdue for considering the amount of content that has been produced that is consumed digitally. I mean, that's the most popular platform.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's one of those things where you have the stalwarts who are just, you know, no, I'm going to fight this change, but now everybody's just saying, okay, yeah, this is legitimate. You're in, and I think it's a really cool development. Taking a look at some of the comments that come through. Sushil says, talk about some S10 now, please. Enough AirPod 2. You know, there's a lot of rumors. I know what you're talking about with the Samsung S10. There's a lot of rumors. Again, so far, mostly rumors, but we have lots of write-ups at digitaltrends.com. You can take a look there, and we have all the catch-up of all the latest rumors on the S10 as far as what's going on with that. So you can always go to the website and take a look. There's nothing really new, I don't think, right now about that. But, you know, every day there's another rumor that comes out. So we've covered some cell phone rumors, but we do have some other stuff that we wanted to talk about today, and just some stories that are trending. And this is one that I find really interesting and kind of disturbing, but it is true, and it's something that's going on right now in China. And in case you don't know, you've probably read this, but in case you don't know, China has a system for basically a social credit system where you rate people. I mean, this sounds crazy. It sounds like something out of Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's straight sci-fi.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to come to terms with.
Right, to come to terms with how this works. And right now, the system works essentially, you know, in order to give people credit for loans and things like that, they're using social aspects for it. So you can rate people. Somebody can get demoted. You can do certain things, like you do some volunteer service that will boost your social credit rating.
Donating blood or spending your time volunteering will advance you in the social credit system.
Right. It's so bizarre that it's hard to wrap your mind around it sometimes. But here's the other thing that's going on right now. And we just showed that image right there. This is the reports of a new app that has been developed in China for Chinese people to use, and it's to go after debtors, or people in debt. So the way it works, and it's called called a deadbeat debtors app, I think is virtually what the translation actually is for this thing, a deadbeat debtors app.
Yeah, and it sounds like you can access it through their WeChat messaging platform, which will kind of alert you to the location of these debtors, and within 500 meters.
Yeah, you get a notification, so you're walking along. I mean, here's how it basically works, according to the reports. You're walking along, you get a notification that, boom, within 500 meters, there's somebody who's in debt who might be buying things. And the idea is you go find that person and you monitor them to see if they're buying things they shouldn't be if they're in debt.
And then so you report them.
Yep, and then you report them, and then they get a knock.
assumedly you get a higher social credit and they get knocked down further.
Yeah. Because it's highly encouraged that people should be paying back their debt, which is the idea of this, and the invasiveness side of this is so, I mean, it's hard to fathom. And I know I use the term, this is like Black Mirror a lot. I probably overuse that, but this is like Black Mirror. Yeah. I mean, this is Black Mirror stuff where you can walk around and do that. And it's just kind of insane. And so some of the things, the penalties for these people who are in debt, if they're buying something that it's deemed they're not supposed to, they could have their internet slowed down at home. They could not be able to book flights and train services. They could have their access to schooling reduced.
They could potentially not have access to certain jobs or certain levels of jobs.
Yeah.
So it's really, really terrifying from an outsider's perspective. I wish that there was a little bit more detail about how this works in action, just so that we could know exactly what kind of limitations this is putting upon people.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, look, I mean, this is what they're doing. I mean, and there's lots of articles about this. You can read up about their social credit rating system. But the idea of implementing this, and if this just goes along and everybody's like, oh, okay, that's how it is, I don't think that's something I would ever want to live with. And that's what I'm curious how people think about that. And usually I'm one of the people who's like, you know what, our privacy's kind of compromised a little bit at this point anyway. Assume you're being filmed at all times. But I don't want some random person where you'd have to worry about somebody monitoring what you're buying.
Yeah, like what kind of things on the street would you get knocked down for? Like,
I don't know.
Accidentally spitting out your gum. Or
right? Yeah. I mean, it's a really unnerving prospect. But I think it'll be interesting to see if this thing can be adapted outside of China, or if this is just going to be this is what the Chinese do.
I think that it'll be contained to, country.
Well, we'll see. You can leave your comments and questions. Let us know what you think about that. And sorry, these are the trending things that I wanted to bring up. So it's really interesting. I'm seeing some of the comments come through. Gurmit said, oh my gosh, totally Black Mirror. Yeah, it really is. And we have lots more to talk about and lots more to cover here at Digital Trends. So coming up next, we're going to be joined by Luke Larson, one of our computing editors, who is going to be talking about gaming computers. But before we do that, thank you, Adrian, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Always fun. And stick right here with us. We'll be back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live, and as we do every day, we've got all kinds of different segments and topics that we're covering here, broadcasting live. We can take your comments and questions as they come through, so continue to drop those in there because we do read them. I'm Greg Nibbler, and right now I am joined by Luke Larson. Hello, Luke.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Really good. Glad to be here.
Exciting year for computing so far. I know it's a short year so far, but for
that's
CES,
how it starts out.
Right? Yeah. CES 2019. I feel like we got to learn a lot more about gaming laptops.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to come on, because like there was so much stuff that came out at the tail end of last year, and then obviously in CES, that was just like there's so much to talk about, and like, it's going to be I think a really exciting year for gaming, especially gaming laptops.
Yeah, which has always been a category I feel like has been kind of lagging behind where everybody wants it to be, especially if you're out there and you're a gamer. You probably know this already. I mean, there's not been a ton of laptops that can really hold up.
Yeah, it's always been a problem. You know, you're trying to get all that power and performance into something that's thin and that's like people still want it to be like a laptop they can use often.
Right.
You know, you don't want like the gaming laptops of old that we think of are like, you know, the
giant thick, you know, weighs 40 pounds.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that's going to be changed. I mean, that changed last year in a big way, I think. But I think that will continue to really be a big trend in 2019.
So what are some of the main things you wanted to bring up here talking about this? I know just the power for these computers is a big issue.
So the really big thing is RTX, and what I've got here is the desktop GPU, the RTX 2080 Ti. And these are a big deal, just not because you know, it's a new thing, but like these don't come out every year. You don't get a new generation of GPUs every year. They come out every few years.
Right.
So the fact that we got this thing and it has all sorts of interesting features. This was launched at the tail end of last year. All sorts of interesting features, but like I said, the big thing is like these are. They don't come every year. They come in bigger cycles. So like when you do actually get it, and it's based on a completely new architecture, it's a whole new thing. So it's exciting, to see that coming. And at CES, we saw that, basically the big announcement from NVIDIA is these graphics coming to laptops.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Normally, when you have something new like this, it's not going to make its way into a laptop.
Right, and sometimes it takes a while for them to get to implement something like that in a laptop, and this has like been a pretty quick turnaround. It kind of just shows how serious NVIDIA is about making real gaming on a laptop a big thing, and they did it in a crazy way because they launched with 40 laptops. So like across the show, we were going crazy, going from booth to booth. I was like, oh, there are so many gaming laptops. There are 40. They
40
were announcing
different
with with these cards in them. So
wow, that is really putting in an effort to make sure that this gets utilized.
Totally, yeah, and it's a big deal. So you have like the 2080. 2070 and 2060.
And so how much faster are they?
So that's the real question. So what we don't know precisely yet, we know what NVIDIA has said, but
right.
You have to take that with a grain of salt. But what we haven't, so then we're gonna know this very soon, but we don't know exactly how powerful these things are. But NVIDIA is talking a really big game here, and it's like and we've a lot of the manufacturers are also like, this is a big deal, and so the main thing is that we might see the difference between gaming on a desktop and gaming on a laptop significantly shrink, and like that the idea that you could actually replicate the gaming desktop experience on a laptop in not a huge giant laptop, but in like a normal laptop.
Yeah, and have like, some kind of parity in there. Actually, referencing that, I'm seeing Shubbo99 just said laptops would have to be huge or semi in size just to fit these cards, especially to keep them cool.
Well, yes, especially one if it was this big.
So that's not the actual physical size.
No, this is the desktop version of that. So I brought there's a few really interesting examples. That obviously there was a million that were so 40.
Oh well, yeah, and there's a lot. You can if you want to get in depth, we have a lot at digitaltrends.com. But talking about some of these RTX powered gaming laptops, which NVIDIA, I mean, kudos to them. They really got it into a bunch of computers. So 40. Yeah. That's a pretty big deal.
I'm sure for the manufacturers, Alienware and Razer, nobody wants to be left out of this train.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all in. Let's do it.
We're in. They've done a good job. So let's talk about maybe some of the different laptops.
Yeah. So I mean, we actually have an article. We ranked all 40 of the gaming laptops that came out.
That's a lot of messing around with some laptops.
Yeah, kind of tongue in cheek, but it was.
You just sit in a room with like a stack of them, like going through one by one.
Like, is number 37 better than number 36?
I don't know. Yeah, you and Matt arguing over that. Yeah.
I wanted to just point out a couple of the really interesting ones because there were some super interesting ideas, and a lot of this is coming from the fact that they have these RTX graphics in them. The first one is the Alienware Area 51M, and this was at the top of our list.
Alienware has always been kind of at the forefront.
Alienware is a big one, and they're not as big on these super thin and light laptops, and they've never been known for that. They go for the oversized.
You got all the bells and whistles, and you got to work out when you lift it up.
Yeah, exactly. So the one they announced at CES was kind of like doubling down on that. It's actually not a whole lot thicker than this. We saw it in person.
I was gonna say it's not that bad.
This isn't the particular one, but it really is close to this. It's the Area 51M, and basically what's cool about this thing is it has a desktop CPU in it. So it doesn't have a little mobile one. It has a desktop CPU in it, and it has obviously the new graphics. And all these things are replaceable. So you can actually replace the CPU or the GPU in a laptop, which hasn't been a thing for a while.
I was going to say, yeah, that's kind of a game changer. If you can upgrade it, because I mean, generally speaking, gaming laptops tend to be more expensive.
They tend to be expensive, and that's one of the reasons why people don't like them, because PC gamers love to update their system and
because it's an investment.
Things out. Yeah, and it's
investment, and things change all the time. And when something new comes out, you want to put in the new card, and if you have to scrap that and start with a brand new system,
start all over.
Yeah, no thanks.
So that's one of the cool things about it, and I think probably the biggest use case for something like that is, something breaks and you can actually go in and just replace or Alienware can go in and replace the GPU and not have to scrap the whole thing or take the whole motherboard out or whatever. So. You have a lot more options in terms of this thing actually lasting for more than a couple of years.
That's fantastic. Well, it's again, we're talking about the Alienware 51M. And so when is that out?
That's coming out really soon.
So you're going to be able to buy this
So
soon.
One of the reasons why we wanted to, there it is there. You can see the CPU and GPU that can be swapped out basically. But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up now is because this stuff is coming really soon. So a lot of these laptops are coming out within the end of the month, within next month. So you're going to see all this stuff coming in. What's really cool is you go buy a gaming laptop next month, and all of a sudden it's going to be way more powerful than it would have been a month ago. So that's the kind of thing that you get when you are buying a laptop right at the cusp of a generation switch, and you get all these new graphics, and you're like, oh, cool. I'm glad I didn't buy one last month.
Right, 2 months. So what he's saying is, wait. If you're waiting to buy one right now, wait.
Wait till these new ones come out. A lot of them, and the reason why I brought this one in is because a lot of them are just being refreshed with
some of the newer
with the new graphics. Yeah. So this is the other Alienware. It's the Alienware M15.
Raymond on Facebook says power supply is the biggest issue with laptops.
Power supply is a big issue.
Because powering all of that is hard.
You get the brick that's this big.
Yeah.
So much for being a mobile machine. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Battery life. Forget about battery life.
Right. But NVIDIA does a lot of work to make sure that these GPUs that are put in here are super efficient. That's one of the big things that have changed. They call them Max-Q designs. And it basically allows for them to be put into these thin form factors without self-destructing.
Nice.
From the heat,
yeah, that's a huge concern when it comes to these. Well, I know we've got a couple others that we wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, some of these are just straight up funky.
Okay.
And, straight up CES weird, but they are interesting. So the Triton 900.
Predator Triton 900.
Yeah, sorry, the Acer Predator Triton 900. And this one basically is a kind of a 2-in-1. It has a screen that can flip out.
That's
you'll see it in the video there. Like the screen flips out so you can
Oh, okay.
So it has like a hinge.
Oh, so you can look down on. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and it
cool. Trying to think of if I really need that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you can flip it around, and the idea was like when they were trying to explain it, which you do have to try really hard to explain something like that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you could flip it around and like use your own keyboard if you were like at home, and with your mouse, you know what I mean? Like so, like you flip the whole thing around because the screen can flip around, so the keyboard's on the other side, and now you can use your fancy desktop keyboard and
okay.
I don't know. That was
that's interesting. I mean, like you said, CES is foreseeing these different weird designs. Some of them will take, some of them won't.
Right.
But there's so many different things, and that's the Predator Triton, the Acer Predator Triton 900.
Right.
Coming to a stage near you.
And of course, all these things cost like $4,000.
Of course, it's going to cost $4,000. Yeah. And then there's one other one that we wanted to bring up too, which is the ROG Mothership.
Yep, the Rog Mothership.
Rog. Is that the way you say that?
I mean, yeah. That's
okay.
what people say.
All right. Sorry, my bad.
Republic of Gamers. Yeah, this is another straight up bizarre one. This was kind of sold as like a Surface Pro for gamers because it's like it has a hinge that pops out. You've got a Surface Pro there.
Yes,
Just imagine if that was this much thicker and had the removable keyboard. What is cool about this one is because you can pull the keyboard out, you can kind of create some space because you don't always like scrunched up.
That's a good point. Like with this, I have to be right up on it.
Totally, and
I can see that,
and that's okay for a normal computer, but like if you want to game, like you kind of want to have a little bit of space between you and the screen. So like that one has a removable keyboard, and you can swap out the keyboard based on your preference and stuff like that. So
now I just disconnected the keyboard off of this, so I'm back to a touchscreen. Well, I like that idea that you could have a little bit of space.
Yeah.
So definitely some interesting laptop computers out there, especially for gaming. Like it's an exciting year for gaming, I think.
Totally. And just one last thing, the other than the performance and all this stuff that we're kind of like unsure about, there's also some interesting features. Like if you're following gaming and these, especially these RTX things, the ray tracing is a big thing, which is
ray tracing.
Ray tracing. It sounds crazy. Real-time ray tracing. Basically, it creates a whole new like thing with shadows and lighting, giving you a different sense of like graphical fidelity. It's like you're supposed to like go.
Those are good words you're throwing out here.
Yeah, I know. So it's supposed to be like really enhance the like immersive, like natural, realistic feel of like lighting.
And we're going to see that in more laptops coming out.
Yeah, so like that's a big thing that's going to actually come to these laptops. But the question is, can it actually handle that? Because that's more processing that it needs to be able to do.
More processing, more power, more everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pushing the limits of them maybe at that point.
Exactly. So there's some questions that are up in the air whether or not these things are really going to deliver on that. So.
Well, I'm sure you'll get them into test them as soon as they do.
Yeah. Like I said, this stuff's coming. We're going to have it within weeks, so it'll be here.
Fantastic. Luke, thank you for hopping on here to talk about this. So 2019 gaming laptops, you can read all the articles and read the roundup of 40 of them.
Yeah, you got to read the ranking.
40 of them at digitaltrends.com. So if you want to get in depth and drop in their questions on there too. I mean, I'm sure you guys can answer those questions if you have some, if people have those. So Luke, thank you so much for hopping on here today.
Sure.
And now I have to say, we're going to be heading to our New York studio. So this is one thing that I want to remind everybody. We're here in Portland, Oregon every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, but we also have our New York studio of Digital Trends, and we are excited to be heading over there next. We've got our senior editor, Les Shu, who is going to be there at our studio interviewing Calvin Iverson. So Calvin is a travel expert with Travel Pirates, and he kind of can run you down on some really great tips on when you should get your tickets, when you should maybe buy that thing for the summer trip, all of those kind of details that Calvin's going to be able to provide. So let's head to New York now. Hello, Les.
Hey, thanks, Greg. So thanks for joining us, Calvin. Travel Pirates. Maybe a lot of people don't know who you guys are, so maybe tell us a little bit about the site.
Segment.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. So we are a travel deals website and app. We actually just won world's leading travel deals website at the World Travel Awards, so that was a really big deal for us.
Congrats.
And thank you. And we started in a different iteration over in Europe, actually, about 6 or 7 years ago. Our two co-founders had learned how to travel the world on a budget, and they were finding all these amazing travel hacks and ways to get really cheap flights, hotels, and vacation packages, and they wanted to share everything that they learned. So they started a blog, and then the blog got bigger and bigger, and then it turned into a whole business. So they expanded out of Germany and throughout the rest of Europe, and about 3 years ago, we launched over in the US. So over here we're called Travel Pirates. We are named differently in each country. It's just whatever the translation is of Travel Pirates over there. And the way we work is we have these really amazing value for money curated deals. We have a team of deal hunters, and their whole job all day is to find just really amazing flights and hotels, even ground transportation, anything that people are looking for.
So how are you guys different from all the other deal sites? Because there's tons of travel websites, they'll be like, oh, everyone's offering almost the same thing. What makes you guys different?
Right, there are so many different options, and I would say that the first thing that really differentiates us is that we're a one-stop shop. So you might sign up for flight alerts from one website, or you find hotels on another, but we do it all. Another thing is that we are so focused on social media. We grew our whole business on Facebook, so we have a direct line to millennial travelers.
You just told me you guys are the biggest travel site on social media?
That's right. We are the most popular travel brand on social media in the world.
For a company that's only a few years old in the U.S.
Only a few years old.
That's awesome.
We're amazingly popular on social media. And because of that, our audience is, this direct line to millennials, and we're learning a lot about how millennials like to travel and how that's changing. So we really cater our deals specifically to that market.
So can we jump into that? What makes a millennial traveler different, and how are you guys catering to this new group that everyone seems to be targeting these days?
Yeah, sure. Well, there are all kinds of different factors that you can take into play. There are all sorts of different ways millennials are showing themselves to be traveling. I think one of the things that I'm seeing a lot, especially with my own group of friends, being a millennial myself, is spontaneous travel, where people are just getting more daring to take advantage of a good deal. They feel like they have that permission to just find an amazing flight price and book that flight. I think another thing that people are getting more comfortable with is traveling to places that growing up we were told were unsafe or not a good place to go. Destinations like Egypt, which had some trouble with the Arab Spring, or Colombia with all the drug problems and political problems that they had years ago, might have been places that we wouldn't have traveled back then, but they're becoming these super interesting places for people our age.
Now, in terms of deals, you guys get some exclusives because you actually have some really big name partners. I think Kayak is one.
Yeah. We work with a number of travel companies. Kayak is one of them. We also work with Priceline, Expedia. We're constantly working with additional partners to find the best deals out there. And in addition to those sources, we actually have proprietary technology so that the deal hunters, while they're hunting for these deals, they can use the same tools that anyone else would, like Kayak or Priceline. But in addition to that, we have these sort of secret keys to find some details that ordinary shoppers wouldn't be able to see.
So now that we've known a little bit about Travel Pirates, I want to kind of pick your brain on tips and tricks. What are some common mistakes you think people make when they start their travel search?
I would say the first thing that most people do wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but they could do better, is just being flexible, both with your destination and your dates. So if you want to go to the French Riviera and you only want to go in June, or whatever month it might be, like chances are you might find really expensive flights and you could decide, oh, I can't go because this is so unaffordable. But the reality is, if you travel on the shoulder season or off-peak, or just set up a travel alert, which we have on Travel Pirates for flights at a certain price point, then you can go. And it's also important to consider destinations that you might not have even thought were a place you'd like to go. I just went to Nashville, which wouldn't have been my first choice because I listen to a lot of country music and I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat a lot of barbecue. And I would have rather gone to New Orleans, where they have all kinds of great seafood. I'm pescatarian, not vegetarian, and music that I'm more prone to like. I had the time of my life, and the flights were under $200. I think they were like $115 round trip. And I booked it spontaneously, and it was something that I just decided to do and try to figure it out.
So I'm going, or I would like to go to Florida during Thanksgiving this year. That's still, a good big time away, bit of time away. What do you recommend? Do I start planning my trip now, or should I take the kind of wait and see approach, or do I just wait till the very last minute and hopefully, find some low fare? I mean, Thanksgiving is a time when everyone's going to travel, so how likely are you going to find some good deals at that time?
Very little for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay, so I'm screwed. Yeah.
Well, other times of the year, I would say you can be a little bit more safe planning last minute. With Thanksgiving, it can be really challenging to find flights anywhere domestic for a reasonable price point at around that time of year. So
I feel like it's better to go to Europe. I seem to find better deals to Europe during Thanksgiving.
It is, actually. That's what I suggest to people.
So maybe I should just forget Florida.
Just go away. Yeah, I mean, you can find flights to Europe for less than $500, and you're probably paying more than that if you're traveling domestic for Thanksgiving. So I highly recommend going to Europe for Thanksgiving. But if you're planning now, I would say the best thing to do is just to start looking at flights now. There's a great tool on Google Flights that you can use to see a graph of flight prices throughout the year, so you can sort of get a feel for, when is the best time to book. And in addition to that, I would say if you already know when and where you're going to go, just set up a travel alert. We have them on Travel Pirates, and you can say, okay, I want to go to Florida in the month of November, or for your specific dates, and then you'll get notified every time we find a really good deal for that time period and that destination.
So you can pretty much apply those rules to your summer vacations, your spring breaks, whatever sort of these popular travel time periods.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say, travel alerts are great, and you brought up Europe. I think that alternative destinations are definitely the way to go. I mean, looking ahead to spring break, of course people want to go to Miami, Cancun, and Vegas, but you can find amazing deals for other places that have a very similar experience. I'm going to Belize, which which is going to be amazing, and I'll be on the Caribbean coast, just like you would be in Cancun. But completely different country, different kinds of crowds, probably a lot more relaxed.
Now, how do you guys guarantee that these are actually good deals? Am I going to feel like buyer's remorse if I find a better deal afterwards? Like, how do you guys ensure that what you're giving me is going to be a good price?
Sure. So I think that the strength of our deal hunting team is really the most important factor there, because as a travel shopper yourself, you might casually search for deals every now and then, and you might have a general feel for what you're comfortable paying. Our team, and we have many of them, deal hunters, they're constantly looking at all of these prices, so they have a really good idea of whether something would go up or down, whether something is a good value, and not necessarily the cheapest, because we don't actually tend to promote the cheapest hotel or the cheapest flight. We always try to recommend the very best value. And when you're speaking about value, if the price goes down later, it might be because it's a completely different flight route and there is an unbearable layover that you wouldn't have wanted to take anyway.
Going to 2019, are you guys seeing any travel trends that might be of interest?
Yeah, definitely. I think that people will definitely be traveling more spontaneously. We're definitely seeing that. And I think that more often than not, we'll see that the accommodations are the destination for a lot of places that people are going. We're seeing more and more hotels offer really interesting experiences. You know, like food walking tours or even nude art classes, that sort of thing, to really draw people in. And it's not a surprise seeing how popular Airbnb has gotten, which is another thing that I think we'll continue to see on the rise. I tend to look at Airbnbs before I even look at hotels these days. So,
want to touch base on something in the news right now. The government shutdown.
Yes.
It's affecting one part is TSA. Are you finding issues there? And for those people who are encountering long lines due to issues there, what are some tips and tricks do you recommend for those folks?
Yeah, for sure. It's a terrible situation, and there are a few precautions you can take to try to stay as calm as possible as you're navigating the busy airports during the shutdown. I would say the best thing is to stay up to date on your flight status and have your airline's app downloaded on your phone so that you can receive any communication about your flight changing immediately and get to the airport as early as you can. Even if you have TSA pre-check, I mean, you really can't be sure what the state of the airport could be like. I would suggest going on Twitter and looking for anyone talking about the airport that you're traveling from to see if you can get any live updates on how long the lines are.
I find that people don't utilize Twitter enough when it comes to interacting with the airlines. They are so responsive if you use social media.
Yeah, they've got a sophisticated operation, and oftentimes that's one of the most direct ways to get in touch with them.
Yeah, I've had issues with flights, and the social media rep is able to take care of it way faster than anyone on the phone.
I just had the same thing happen with a credit card company where I spent hours and hours and hours on the phone with them, and then they couldn't help me, but when I tweeted at them, they helped me immediately. so I'd say stay up to date on social media. You can probably get better answers that way.
So back to the TSA, it's interesting that I find that when I am in line, I'm always puzzled, like, is this your first time flying? You know, like, there's so many people who just don't seem to understand the rules.
Yeah.
So I would say learn sort of the rules a little bit before you get in line.
Sure. And if you want to be less frustrated with that, I would say, you know, join a trusted traveler program like TSA PreCheck, Global Entry if you're coming back into the country. Those lines probably have travelers who are a little bit more used to going through security. And in addition to that, you don't have to follow the same rules as everyone else, like taking off your shoes, your belt, that sort of thing.
I want to ask you briefly about hotels and accommodations. Do you have any tips and tricks there in terms of finding good hotels at good rates? I don't know, lately I seem to be finding nothing but just, you know, really expensive hotels. I'm not sure if I'm just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's definitely a seasonality thing and demand. I'm staying at a hotel in New York this week that's, I think, only about $100 a night, but I stayed at the same hotel back in October, and it was several times that. So I think that most of all, you just need to comparison shop, and when you do find a hotel that you think is the right price, definitely read the reviews and make sure that it has all the amenities that you think it should. I nearly booked a hotel for myself on this trip where I didn't realize until I was about to check out that I'd be sharing a bathroom with other people in the hotel. So the low price point could trick you if you don't read the fine print.
I can't believe those hotels still exist.
I know.
Like, what is this? 1800s?
I know.
So Calvin, I want to thank you so much for coming to our offices and giving us some tips and tricks. So Travel Pirates should be one of your first stops if you're looking for a good deal. Get on social media, connect with you guys for always the latest prices. And thank you again so much for coming and sharing your information.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So that's Calvin Iverson with TravelPirates.com. You can find them online. There's an app, and they're on social media. And we're going to throw it back to Greg in our Portland studio. Back to you, Greg.
All right, thanks so much, Les and Calvin. Some really, really great advice there. I do agree that I found that works very well, too, is if you actually tweet the airline, if you're having a problem, they tend to respond. It works for cable companies too. All right, some great advice there. And again, thanks everybody for tuning in. We are live. We broadcast this live, Digital Trends Live, every day, and here every weekday here, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That was our New York office. I'm here in our Portland one, but we're broadcasting all over the world, and I want to remind everybody of that because we are live. Hello to Jet in South Africa. I know we had Gurmit, who was in, gosh, I can't even remember where you were, Gurmit. I know at some point Malaysia, and I know you stayed up past your bedtime to watch us, and we do appreciate that. So set a reminder to join us every day, because then you get to find out things like we had at the beginning when we had Adrian Warner here in studio. We talked about Xiaomi and their double folding phone. You can read about that at digitaltrends.com. We also talked about the crazy new Chinese app that has them tracking down their neighbors. You can read up about that, digitaltrends.com. We'll have articles about all of these different topics. And then we had Luke in here talking about gaming laptops and the exciting developments we're going to see in those in 2019. They're going to be faster, better, maybe, finally, a little bit more on par with PC gaming. We've got the huge write-up of 40 different gaming laptops. Check that out at digitaltrends.com. And then, of course, Les Shu with Calvin from Travel Pirates talking about that. Tomorrow, we've got a whole nother lineup for you. Lots of things to cover, lots of things to talk about. Hit subscribe wherever you're watching right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you make sure you get our episodes every day when we go live, and everything else that we have here at Digital Trends. We've got lots of coverage on all of these topics. Stay tuned all day long to be caught up on all the news in tech, and we'll be here with you every morning, bringing you the trending topics, bringing you news, interviews, all kinds of things, and we appreciate you tuning in. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.